So Grandma, I'm going to sing 2 songs today. The first is Singing in the Rain, and it was actually released the year that you were born. I'm singing in the rain, just singing in the rain. What a glorious feeling, I'm happy again. I'm laughing at clouds so dark up above. The sun's in my heart and I'm ready for love. Let the stormy clouds chase everyone from the place. Come on with the rain, I've a smile on my face. I'll walk down the lane with a happy refrain, and I'm singing, just singing in the rain. Let the stormy clouds chase everyone from the place. Come on with the rain, I've a smile on my face. I'll sing down the lane with a happy refrain, and I'm singing, just singing in the rain. And the second song I'm going to sing, Grandma, there's 2 reasons I'm singing this song. The first reason is from a musical, and you and I share that love for musicals together. And the second reason is just because of the words in the song. It talks about that for you, you've done a lot of good for all these people here, and clearly there's a lot of people whose lives you've impacted as well. So this song is called For Good, and it's from the musical Wicked. I've heard it said that people come into our lives for a reason, bringing something we must learn, and we are led to those who help us most to grow if we let them, and we help them in return. Well, I don't know if I believe that's true, but I know I'm who I am today because I knew you. Like a comet pulled from orbit as it passes the sun, like a stream that meets a boulder halfway through the wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? But because I knew you, I have been changed for good. It well may be that we will never meet again in this lifetime. So let me say before we part, so much of me is made from what I learned from you. You'll be with me like a handprint on my heart. And now whatever way our stories end, I know you have rewritten mine by being my friend. Like a ship blown off its mooring by the wind of the sea, like a seed dropped by a skybird in a distant wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? Because I knew you. I have been changed for good, and just to clear the air, I ask forgiveness for the things I've done you blame me for. But then I guess we know there's blame to share, and none of it seems to matter anymore. Like a comet pulled from orbit as it passes the sun, like a stream that meets a boulder halfway through the wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? I do believe I have been changed for the better. But because I knew you, because I knew you, I have been changed for good.
Thanks so much for that, Melissa. Now for a little musical encore, we're going to get all the great grandchildren to come up.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear grandmama. Happy birthday to you. Hooray! Hooray!
Good one, Taylor.
Well done, kids. Now time for some formalities. So, Grandma, it's your turn to cut the cake. Grandma, you don't need that. No one's going to steal it. You get plenty of warning, Grandma.
Yeah, so did you have a good look at it?
Yes, yeah, I did before.
So
It's absolutely beautiful.
who Hang on, don't put it. No, we just take some pre-photos.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Ngaire. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you, everyone.
Hooray! 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 Well done.
You okay?
Thanks everyone. Dessert's just been served. So if we can go up in the same order that you went up to start with. There's a choice of two desserts. There's a sticky day pudding and a meringue with
special one for the kids.
with fruit on top, and there's special desserts for the kids. So
We'll have to remember that.
we'll find over here what quantifies the difference for the kids.
It was good singing.
Okay, everyone, we're just about to kick off the speeches. So grab your last bit of whatever you're doing and have a seat. Still a few people mowing outside. The louder? Louder. I was just reflecting on what it meant to be the oldest grandson or grandchild, and one of the best things I remember about growing up was when Grandma and Granddad used to go tripping around the place, and once or twice actually they went to America, and the first time they came back they bought me this big truck transporter thing that was about this long and about this wide, and I don't know how the heck they got it into their suitcase.
We had to buy one.
I had to buy a special suitcase. And then the second time I got a light and sound fire engine made of Lego, and that's still at home and it still works, and my kids are playing with that now, so we always think about you guys when we pull that out, so that's pretty special. So we're going to have 3 speeches. The biggest stress for me about being MC tonight was the fact that everybody was worried about how long people were going to talk for. And so our first speaker is the least verbose of the 2 Johnson brothers. So come on up.
Rachel.
There you go. Don't hold out much yet. They can't see it. Just stand just
Need the mic.
to read.
Well, thank you, Jonathan. I really need my glass. I had to write a few notes because I can't remember everything that I should to talk about today. But this reminds me of a story I heard recently of a married couple. The wife was standing in front of the full-length.
I'll get my cup of it.
The wife was standing in front of the full-length mirror, and she's looking at herself, and she said, "Oh, you know, dear," like getting ready to bed. "You know, dear, I look in the mirror and I see this middle-aged woman with a few wrinkles on my face. Hair's going grey, shoulders are humped, got fat legs, and I'm starting to droop in places. Could you say something positive to cheer me up?" And he thought for a while, and then a quiet, thoughtful voice he said, "There's nothing wrong with your eyesight." I wasn't sure what I was supposed to do today exactly. Coral came to see me and she said, for a 5-minute talk, we don't want a life history, just a few anecdotes. So basically that's what you're going to get. Although I will say this, I understand that Ngaire, when she was 6 months old, she had been most unwell as a baby, and they sent her to Karitani Hospital in Auckland, where she remained for 6 months. That is for sick children. And then, of course, she'd be about a year old when she arrived home. But actually I can't remember those days very much. But I recall my dad telling me about Ngaire being mischievous when she was a little tot. How she had locked him in the chook house. After much cajoling, she finally let him out. So he thought, I'll teach her a lesson. He locked her in the chook house. But well, she was quite resourceful from an early age. She just managed to squeeze through the little hole that was there for the chooks to enter and exit. The school days began at Mangapico School when you were 6 or 7?
6.5.
6.5, okay, they didn't start too early. At one stage there they didn't allow children to start until they were 6. But anyway, it meant necessitated a walk about 2.5 miles along dusty and sandy roads and what have you. There was a certain amount of risk involved because the drovers those days used to drive cattle to the sale yards and between farms. They would be on a horse with a pack of dogs, and various times Ngaire and later Elsa too, they had to dive through a neighbour's fence to avoid being run over by these cattle. Children weren't transported to school those days, or anywhere for that matter. I can recall when I was very young, I don't know how I got dragged into it, but Ngaire and Elsa were going up the road to meet their friend Barbara Woolley. And Mrs. Kilgour is here today. And halfway up the sand road, met you, and you were coming down here to hang out or play with the girls. But that meant a 3-mile walk to our place, and at least a 3-mile walk for you to go home. And I remember that quite vividly. I guess you did that more than once. I see June here too. I can remember you and Ailsa and Ngaire in particular with your singing and entertaining it down the Mangapico Hall. And it always went down well.
Thank you.
And I remember too, you used to do the hurdles at school. Another early memory is of Ngaire from a young age knitting, taking it to bed at night. I understand she used to knit under the covers using a torch for light. She was supposed to be going to sleep. She got that good at it that she could knit in the dark, and she still can. She continues to this day knitting and sewing, and the great-grandchildren are now beneficiaries of her expert expertise. She prepared for her teacher training by also teaching me to knit whilst fairly young, and attempted to teach me the piano. That was a lost cause. For the benefit of the younger members present today, I will mention briefly a couple of worldwide events that were an important period in our lives. The effect they had on our parents, who taught us lessons they learned not to be wasteful and to avoid unnecessary risk and to be careful with money. That's who we are. I guess we siblings are products of the Great Depression. It started in 1929, the year Ngaire was born. I'm not suggesting that her arrival was the cause of it. But it lasted until the late 30s. It was triggered when the New York Stock Exchange crashed. The economical and social effects rippled rapidly around the Western world and deeply affected New Zealand too. There was massive unemployment, job and wage cuts left people desperate, and many families struggled to cope. Food shortages affected health of the people, particularly children. And this led to the government of the day, 1937, to introduce milk in schools. Half a pint a day per pupil. Yuck, that milk. They used to leave it at the gate in the sun for hours, and sometimes it's already gone off by the time we get it. No wonder I don't drink milk to this day. This continued until 1967, 30 years of it.
They still do it now.
Milk in schools is back again, thanks to the generosity of Fonterra farmers. They even supply fridges to keep the quality of the milk right. As I mentioned previously, the Great Depression lasted from 1929 until the late 30s. During the 30s, food shortages and poor housing had serious ramifications with up to 1 in 6 people dying before the age of 20. I don't think people of today realise what real poverty is. The next momentous event was the Second World War, 1939 to 1945. This had the greatest effect on our generation. We have many memories of the war years. At school we had air raid drills. The town siren would sound and we had to make our way in an orderly fashion to the trenches that had been dug under the trees, handy to our schools. Given cotton wool to stuff in our ears to dampen the sound of exploding bombs, if it was for real. At night, our homes had blackout rules where we mustn't let any light show. Food, clothing and fuel shortages are the one abiding memory. There was rationing in force. Coupons were allocated for these items, for petrol, butter, tea, sugar, even clothing. At this time Dad had 2 men workers on the farm, having all meals with the family. They used to take sugar in their tea, regularly emptying the sugar bowl. Ngaire thought this unfair. She was about 14 years of age at the time. I remember her measuring out their ration, putting their sugar in named jars. The first week they consumed their ration in 2 days. They soon got the message. Ngaire always stood up for fair play. In conclusion, I must mention a most important period in our family's lives. In 1945, just before the end of the war, my mother's best friend, Mrs. Eva Wright, rang to say her very close friend, Mrs. Ruby Phillips, had a son who wanted to make farming his career. Between them, they organised that this young man should come and work for my parents, and he never left. After a period of time, Ron, who had his meals with the family, after the evening meal would retire to the bats just out the back fence. After a few minutes, Ngaire would get up to empty the tea leaves out of the teapot. They were thrown in the garden on the lawn. It took an aide sometimes to complete this chore. That's when we knew that something was cooking. In due course, Ron progressed from farmhand to a shareholding job on the 100 acres Dad had purchased from Jack Ryan on the 2nd of June 1942 for £4,218, 18 and 7pence. After a year, Ron decided that to be complete, a man should be married. Then he's finished. I don't know that Ngaire was all that keen on hard work or housework. She was keen on hard work, but not housework. But she seemed keen to grasp the opportunity of sweeping down the aisle. A great partnership was soon formed. In due course, I became an uncle 4 times over. I've exceeded my time, so happy birthday, sis. Thanks for the opportunity of sharing this day with you.
Thank you, Noel.
Should have said happy birthday.
Apparently there's another birthday boy in the room who's just been up here, so happy birthday, Noel. So next speech is going to be Coral. Right.
Hi everyone. 1929, what a year. As Noel said, Wall Street crashed and triggered the Great Depression. The Auckland Civic Theatre opened. The Chateau Hotel opened at Ruapehu. And Ngaire Mabel Johnson entered the world. Firstborn of 4, it's great, Ailsa, Noel and Owen, that you can also celebrate here with us today. Interestingly, those first 3 events have played a big part of Mum's life. Wall Street told her, don't ever buy any shares under any circumstances, and save every penny you have, for it may be the last. She has been to many a show at the Civic and will still be found in the theatre at every opportunity. And of course, the Chateau. is where Mum and Dad enjoyed a very memorable night on their honeymoon. Our family is thrilled that you are all here to help celebrate her birthday and remember some of her highlights along the way. Mum's upbringing was absolutely teetotal and staunch Methodist from hard-working farming stock. But she was rebellious at times. She loved to dance, which was frowned upon her family at the time. And although forbidden, while in the teachers' college hostel, she smuggled a radio into her room and had a party. And then she expected us kids to be perfect. Well, I was. Just not my brothers. They climbed out of the bedroom window when she thought they were doing their homework and wagged school. Actually, Bruce didn't do that. He made bombs and chemical explosions in his bedroom and nearly blew the house up.
And burnt the bedspread.
It was a battle for Mum to keep track of 4 lively kids, especially since she was often at the cowshed and had no idea what we were doing. Mum has many interests, but knitting would have to top them off, as Noel said. You know how young people are tied to their smartphones. Well, Mum is like that with her knitting needles. Well, and her smartphone. In later years, Mum liked to travel and explore new places. Places like Orkney Islands, Nepal, Casablanca, and even the Khyber Pass of Pakistan, where the guide had to carry a machine gun. Then she wonders why her own son Neil and grandson Tim wanted to go to Korea, North Korea, last month. And then at 82, she was off to Europe, Adelaide at 87, Vanuatu at 89. But all these trips, these 3 last trips, were instigated by her daughters-in-law, who offered to take her. How cool is that? Mum is always very happy to help people and organisations, not usually on committees, but in her quiet way, and certainly never blowing her own trumpet. Knitting singlets for prem babies, visiting people living on their own, playing the piano or organ whenever she is needed, and Boys Brigade are just some of the things that come to mind, as well as being the behind-the-scenes helper for all the committees that Dad was on. Only in paid employment as a teacher for a short time, she has used her teaching skills all her life. She has also been a constant learner, attending classes and all sorts of things, painting lessons, computer classes, flax weaving, and piano lessons and chord improvisation. Oh, how I was sick of that green sleeves piece she practiced over and over again. She backed Dad in whatever he did, and growing Pittosporum seedlings was one of them. What a great excuse it was for Mum to go travelling all over New Zealand picking seed. Mum went along with Dad's interest in fishing, but was pretty happy when we kids were old enough to go out with him in the early hours of the morning. But I tell you what, she was just awesome at untangling the fishing line birds' nests that Dad would get into. And should we talk about the Valiant? It is such a big piece of our family history. It came into our family around 1965 from Bev Wing's parents-in-law. Here's Bev, Dad's pride and joy. The city slicker relations from Henderson thought that Dad had now made it down on the farm. New cowshed, new house, big flash new car. Well, one day that nearly came to an end. We were driving home past Barbara Kilgour's place, the sharp 90-degree bend on Hawthorne Road. The accelerator was a bit heavier than the old Humber, and all these years Mum has had to live with the reputation of what happened next. But today I will tell the truth that it was I who was the cause of the accident. No seatbelt on, and we've never talked about this actually.
We never had seatbelts.
We didn't have seatbelts, but I wasn't sitting still, and Mum was distracted, telling me to sit still, and her eyes went off the road.
And up a bank.
The car roared up the bank, and over she went. The perfect landing, just the wrong way up, on the roof. But hardly a scratch on the car, and barely a drop of blood from the stunned kids in the back. The rest is history, and this car lives on. It has been used for many a wedding car, including several of the the grandchildren. In fact, you may have spotted it in the car park today. Local and family history is a favourite of Mum's. She has put in hours and hours researching for her books, which are actually over on that table over there. If you ever want to know about something, like photos of the Queen's visit in 1953, or the original building plan of the Mangapiko Hall, just ask Mum. She's sure to have a newspaper clipping, or two, in a box.
I've still got the plan.
We tried to help Mum declutter when shifting to town, but she knew what was in every box, and she kept on and on until Colin had to rescue some of the boxes out of the hole on his farm. But there are many fantastic things I mustn't forget to tell you about my mum, about how she has taught us so much, has been devoted to us as a family, and worked tirelessly when we were young to provide all we need. She will still happily always find a meal for us, even when turning up unannounced. Thank you, Mum, for everything you have done for us, for teaching us all to save and budget, but not be so frugal we have to make shorts out of flower bags. For drumming into us the name of every native tree that lives on Pirongia, even though we never listened to you. For the many skills you have taught us, that there is always something more important to do than housework. I used to cringe when people said to me, "You are just like your mother." But now I am starting to think it is an honour. When I look at all you have achieved, Mum, and the life you are still living to the full, I feel I can be very proud.
Thank you, Coral. Nobody ever says I'm just like my father. It's happened about 4 times today. Thanks, Coral. There's some very true words in there. The last speech tonight's going to be from Grandma. She's got a strict time limit, and my stopwatch is going to be running, and you'll get a bell when you've got 30 seconds left.
Don't worry, Coral's timed it.
One of my first memories of Grandma is up when they were building the house up on the top of the hill, up on Johnson Road. I remember going over. Granddad and Grandma took me around the foundations, and as a little kid you sort of walked along where the concrete's going to be, and I was thinking about that today, and I was thinking how many people that are 90 today have built 3 houses, and I'm sure it's not very many, and it's certainly not someone who's in their 80s who's building a house by themselves. So I think that's a pretty impressive story of Grandma's resilience and fortitude and stubbornness, maybe, but I think that's pretty impressive. So we'll hand over to you, Grandma. You can stand up. Just stay sitting.
Thank you everyone for coming. It's been great to have you all here. And thank you, Noel and Coral, for all you've said. You reminded me of things I'd forgotten about, actually. Some of the things. I'm so pleased to be here to share this milestone with you. Whether family or friends, you're all part of my life.
No, switch it on.
Is it off, is it? Right, start again.
Yeah.
I'm so pleased to be able to share this milestone with you. Whether family or friends, you are all part of my life. And thank you all for coming. The furthest away one was Beryl. I'm very pleased to have my cousin here from Cairns. They've come from Pauanui, Taupo, Auckland, all over the place. It's really good. I was born on the farm at Auburn at 9 o'clock in the morning. I was the first baby Dr. Hiskins delivered after he came to Te Awamutu as a young doctor. And some of you will remember Dr. Hiskins. He was here all of his working life. Nurse Waite assisted my mother for 3 of us, Ailsa and Noel as well. She was nurse, cook, cleaner and mother help for 2 weeks at her home births. If it wasn't for the care of the Plunkett nurses in Karatani Hospital, I wouldn't be here. My Plunkett book showed that I grew for 4 months and then dramatically lost weight. Imagine the trauma my parents went through when I was sent to Karatani Hospital in Mount Albert in Auckland for 4.5 months. No, it was 6, but it wasn't quite that long. There's a photo on the board over there. I took some time after the hospital was bought by the Hebron Christian College in 1981. The spectacular 16-bedroom Howley home on McLean Street, Mount Albert, was built around 1889 for Andrew Clark Coe of Smith & Coe's. He named it Rahiri, meaning warm welcome. When the Plunkett Society was searching for a site for a hospital in 1923, Andrew Coe gifted the house along with 2 acres of land to the Society for a Karatani hospital. I don't know why I didn't begin school until October 1935, when I was 6.5, maybe because of the distance I had to walk, across farms and along a sand road. And it wasn't until I also started school that we went right round the road, even further I think, but that's what we did. Stella was a placid Timor pony, but when she put her head down, her neck would act as a slide. I could never stay on her. Riding to school, as so many others did, was out of the question. I was at school right through the war. I didn't quite finish the 2 years at Teachers College in Auckland. Because of a big shortage of teachers, a friend and I were sent out of college early to do our probation year at Te Awamutu Primary. I went to school on the Education Board bus with the pupils. I wonder how many teachers would go to school with their pupils nowadays. I finished my teaching career at Parongia School, and I lived at home all that time until Ron and I were married in 1952. Sadly, Ron and I didn't quite make our 60th wedding anniversary, but we had many wonderful times together and as a family. We celebrated our 50th anniversary at Taupo. For our 70th birthdays, we all went to Broadbeach on the Gold Coast. For our 80th birthdays, we all stayed in units at Lake Okataina Camp. And for no special reason, but just to get together, we all, 19 of us then, spent a fabulous week with our friends on Lavini Island. And I had an email from them this morning. Never had the island been booked out by just 2 families and a Scottish couple. Imagine the competition there was between the Australian family of 12 and the Fijian staff and us. With the Scottish couple as well, we had a lot of fun for the whole week. And they still talk about it. It was great times. We are now a very happy family of 36. Today is the anniversary of the morning I well remember when my father came into our bedroom where Ailsa and I were sleeping. We slept in a bedroom together, and Dad came in and told us that we had a new baby brother born in the night in the bedroom just across the passage, and that was Noel when I was 7. Noel, I wish you a very happy birthday. Yeah. I would like to share some of Ron's humour with you. On the 17th of May 2002, Ron and I celebrated our golden wedding. While working in the packing shed with his plants, he wrote this on thick scrap paper with a gardener's marking pen, and I still have it in my cupboard. I have a little award to make today. We have heaps of nominations for this Oscar, but there was one outstanding nomination, so all the others were thrown out without hesitation. The winner of this award is a very loving person, good at rolling valiants, putting holes through barbed wire fences, a very good cook, especially chocolate logs, repairing grandchildren's cloth animals that they've been so fond of that they've cuddled them to death. Thank you. Timothy, where are you? Timothy had a penguin he couldn't part with.
Still got it.
A very good knitter, good at spinning yarns, and not too bad at weaving her way along. Always losing keys, bank cards, cheques, good at driving Hummer snipes through the back wall of the garage. And I'll explain there, I borrowed Dad's car after I tipped the Valiant over, and the master cylinder of the brakes went, and no way could I stop it. And went right through the wall. A very good travelling companion, enjoys tramping, fishing, bird watching, loves native trees, even has a few computer skills. Doesn't like housework, and I still don't, or weeding the garden, never washes the car or mows the lawns, never growls or yells, never wastes money, but likes buying airline tickets to crazy places. Is a very good pianist and organist, could sing at one time and still tries. But most important, a very loving wife and good companion to me for the last 50 years. So this Supreme Award goes to Ngaire. And the Oscar is actually a gold plastic cup engraved with, awarded to Ngaire for 50 years of loving, caring and sharing together. Ron. I'd like to thank Penny and Ken very much for all they've done for us today. They've really turned on a beautiful meal and a lovely venue. Once again, thank you everyone for helping me celebrate this milestone and enjoy the day.
Thank you for sharing, Grandma. I remember some of those, all of those trips actually, and the thing that's followed on from that, and we're thinking about the batch at Taira, is that for the last three years anyway, it's been tradition that at Labour weekend, all the family that are able to gather at the batch at Taira, and that's certainly something that's treasured and is jotted down in the diary again for later this year. So that concludes the formalities for today. The cake's been put out now. I understand there's, I might get this wrong, there's fruit cake, but there's also the chocolate cake on top, that's gluten free. Is that right, chocolate cake? Yeah, so chocolate cake on top is gluten free for anyone that is thinking about having cake. And help yourselves to tea and coffee over there, and Grandma hasn't finished. But after that, don't feel like you have to run off. There's tea and coffee over there, and we're not under any pressure to get out of here. So make the most of everyone's company, and make sure you're writing the book over there. Got it, Coral. Last word to Grandma.
Thank you. Some of you were at my father's 90th birthday. So over my other books, you'll see a photo album, and some of you will find your faces in it. Olive, you're one of them. So have a look at Dad's 90th birthday, 1990. When was he? 1995? No, 1991. Yeah, 1991, his birthday. So the album is over there.
Right.
Thank you.
Well done, thank you.
Well, I'm wasn't exactly sure. Something personal between you and
We're not going to be able to
That all worked out, didn't it?
They gave us cake forks with the serviette. Serviette if you like. Don't have to make this. Yeah, we've cleaned the plate up for you. What's that? No worries.
Had a bit of time to think about it.
Yeah.
Free one.
I think that's the one of each.
Who made the cake? Logan's sister, so Melissa, the lady who sang,
Isn't it? I got a wolf in a minute.
her sister-in-law made it.
Beautiful. That's all right. That's delicious.
She's very clever.
I haven't said to leave the plate.
Consider.
Now is she? Oh, is she? She was at Dyer.
You get all the awesome.
I'm going to throw my blooming, I want something
Kind of a free fruit cake.
I'll just put the egg on
There you go, lady. Chocolate down your end, Elster. Didn't get attracted. I was thinking. Nah. You guys have
Everybody else had horses then?
What everybody else
Had
attracted.
tractors.
And now they had horses. I'm telling you that.
they wouldn't buy a tractor. You go, cake.
Well, I'm going to have a bit of coffee, so I'll
You can always go back for more after.
I'll leave that there.
Are you gonna have coffee?
I think there's about half in there. Something in there. That's not from the universe.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, completely. Well, in time, yes.
Still up the good stepping stone? Yeah. Well, yeah.